Bros community radio station, Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Good evening and welcome to Winning Women, the show that celebrates women who are breaking barriers, finding their power and creating impact. I'm your host, Iram Sha, and tonight we are exploring the theme from trauma to transformation. We'll hear how even the hardest experience can become a source of strength, not just for ourselves, but for others. Our guest tonight is Rupy Dylan, a certified trauma liberator, transformation interventionist, NLP master practitioner, and soulful guide helping women reclaim their voice, their worth, and their inner safety. Rupy, you've inspired so many women, but every journey has a beginning. Can you share how your own experiences shape the advocate and guide we see today?
Hello, thank you, Iram, for having me.
No problem.
First of all, it's through the lived experiences that I have now gone to become a coach for women. I try and support women to find their voice. So thank you for the introduction. You know, I'm the trauma liberator, transformation interventionist, soulful guide. But before being all of that, I have been the version who has walked through many trials and tribulations and then has found her path, her voice, and then has come home to herself. And that's exactly what I do by supporting women. My niche is in domestic abuse and domestic violence, and that has been my story for about 25 years between two of my marriages. It is not easy to find the courage, to step forward, to come out of that space. And that's where I come in for women.
And looking back, so when in the early days, we're just going to go over some of the early days. And listeners, if you are listening in, do tune in. You're on 106.2 FM, Salaam Radio, Winning Women. You could listen on to YouTube. You can call in as well. You can call on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 07411 191062. Rupy, we're just going to take you back a little bit. So when in the very early years, looking back, what did freedom feel like to you? What did that look like?
So I've been born and brought up in India till the age of 19. Lived in a joint family, very loving joint family who was supportive, as joint families are, full of noise, yet full of love and comfort. And during that period, I've been educated in the English medium school, the St. Mary's Convent, which gave me structure and also gave me the discipline. But then the house was my safe space. And my grandmother was the one who would mollycoddle me, give me all the love, along with the spiritual lessons. And in that, I think somewhere or the other, she literally fanned that spiritual journey for me.
All right.
So at the age of 13, while your hormones are kicking in, everything is going on, you just don't know when something comes to you, whether that is actually, awareness, or whether that is something, a higher divine power. And I believe strongly in the higher divine power. So at the age of 13, on a very hot summer, I'm on the terrace and I literally hear this voice loud and clear. What is the meaning of life? And as a 13-year-old, literally scared the heck out of me. So I literally went looking for lessons from one family member to the other. And then finally, my grandma, my paternal grandma, when I sat down and I asked her, I said, what is the meaning of life? And she said, why has it bothered you? Where did this come from? So I said, something I want to know. And then I shared with her, and then she just sat me down and held my hand, and she said, life, as you grow, the meaning changes. So as is will change. But just remember that there is something within you which will always make sense. And no matter what is going around you, that will always make sense. And I think that was, good enough for me to soothe my anxiety, soothe my fears, and, that rattled brain of a 13-year-old. And soon enough, as life happens, life takes over, schooling took over, other bits and pieces took over, so you tend to forget. And then I came in this country at the age of 19 through arranged marriage. And slowly, chapters begin to unravel in your life. And somewhere along that, that wisdom from your grandmother stays with you. You hold on very tightly to it. And then you just navigate life, Iram.
Yeah, and then it started making more sense then. I bet
Yes, it does, because when you're 13, life is, and like at my age, when I was 13, life was very different. World was very different. It is not the fast-paced, world which is now. It was very slow, very calm, just at a very leisurely pace, which I'm sure perhaps it is, even for the generation which is 13 now, but, 46 years ago, it was a different world, right? So you hold on to that wisdom and you try and dip your toes and you try and dip your hands into that wisdom as and when you require. And the meaning of life has changed for me definitely from the age of 13 when I first had that awareness to now understanding where life is taking you. And when you have kids, the meaning of life changes again because you're a mother. So, life becomes mother then. You don on that hat. And as women, we wear many caps, right? We literally juggle so many plates and so many hats. And depending on the hat we are wearing, the meaning of life changes. The meaning of, your essence changes. So that is a little bit of, my early childhood. Looking back at it, it is my safe space even today. When I need to dig deep and find strength, when I'm running low on strength, all I do is just visit my childhood, and all the happy memories, the beautiful memories, literally just give me that push.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And was it love? How did love show up in living in a family like that?
When you're living in a joint family, it's chaotic, right? Some days it's completely loud. Some days it's just subtle. And then there are days when, it's chaos from the time you wake up to the time you go. So just to give you a perspective, I never needed friends from outside because my father was the eldest, and then he had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. And the 2 younger aunts of mine, they had kids. So my siblings, my cousins, it was full. We never had a empty house. We never needed friends from outside to, say, okay, yeah, we have to have friends. My cousins are till date my best friends. My younger siblings are, till date my best sisters. My brothers, and I think when you're growing up, men tend to kind of distance, because they're not that affectionate, they're not that, expressive.
Yes.
So then it comes little bit of a gap comes. But if I'm talking completely about the girls in our family, we are super close, and we are spread out all over the world right now. So I'm here. I've got 2 cousins in, Europe, one in Norway, one in Germany. Then I've got 2 cousins living in New Zealand. Then I've got family all over in India, Bangalore, Delhi, Amritsar. So it's
good excuse to travel, isn't it?
It is a good excuse to travel. And then, when you're traveling, it's also an excuse that you haven't come and seen me. You went and saw somebody else. So it's been, a tough space. And life then comes in between. Life comes in between, I'm sure that does for a lot of other people as well. And especially when you are a mother of, 3 kids growing up, and then another one comes in, so you're handling 4 kids. But at one point, I was literally dealing with 3 kids, a small business, my health, then running to high school, running to primary school, running to,
That resonates.
kindergarten. Yeah, which I'm sure for many women, women understand that. So then you tend to lose yourself somewhere. You understand the meaning of adjustment. And I think in our culture, adjustments means completely something else. South Asian cultures, I'm sure probably, listeners who are tuned in will understand when I say this, that when you get married, there are certain pieces of advice which are given by your elders, which unfortunately in today's day and age don't resonate. They don't work. They just simply don't work. And my example was when I was leaving India. My youngest Chachi ji, who I loved dearly, she's no longer around. We lost her last year. She just, unbeknown to her, because that is the advice she got. So, she didn't know any better. So she told me, she said, don't ever do something or behave in a manner where you lower our head down in front of your in-laws. And that stuck with me. That seriously stuck with me for so long that, anything I would do in my life, that was the thought which was leading. And then that makes you almost, you become in a boxed position, right? Because it's a tiny circle. And within that circle, you're navigating so many relationships. You're navigating so many roles which you play. And then you're plus balancing your career. You're balancing work, home life, raising the kids. We women tend to leave ourselves behind. And I am now a mother-in-law as well. So my eldest daughter, when she got married, I didn't give her any advice. I just said, you know what? You're more than capable. I'm here. If you ever need me, if you ever need my support, if you ever need my guidance, I'm here. And she has reached out a couple of times. She has sought advice. And you do the best, because I firmly believe now that my experiences should not spill over onto my daughters.
So you wanted to break that cycle.
I literally want to break that chain. I want to break that generational change. I want to break that societal change. And I just want to break that change, because yes, we are there to support our kids, but we can only guide them.
Yeah, and sometimes these cultural advice and environment that we live in can really shape the way we live.
Yeah.
So you said, that's quite a weighty thing to carry with you into the marriage, wasn't it?
Yeah, but again, like I said, if our elders know that when they give certain advice, when they say certain words, the weight of it, how that shapes us, I'm sure they wouldn't, I'm sure they wouldn't do those kind of advices. I'm sure they would say certain things which will, help and move us in a more empowered way.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's all they knew as well. So,
yeah.
So then so you carried that weight, and then you, when you were married, it was a transition from the marriage that brought you into the UK.
Yeah. So my, childhood has been full of freedom, and by freedom I mean, equal opportunities, equal education, equal space to grow and expand my wings, which meant, freedom to wear the clothes which I wanted. And in those days, clothes but not so revealing as they are today. So, my father just said certain things, and, it was like he didn't like sleeveless for me, which was completely fine because I don't like sleeveless clothes. And it's not a mindset, it's just something I'm not comfortable in. I purely and truly believe that a woman looks more beautiful when she's covered up because it leaves so much to the imagination. And I'm not saying that there is anything wrong in the clothes, which women find. If they can carry that off, absolutely kudos to them. But I have never been able to carry that up. I become very self-conscious. Also growing up, like I said, clothes which I could wear, challenge the beliefs and thoughts which was running in the family at that time. To just give you an example, we all know that there are huge biases in the way we raise boys and girls in our culture, right? And I was challenging that from the very beginning.
All right.
I would have immense arguments with my eldest aunt. And she would say, no, but, daughters are supposed to be very docile. Daughters are supposed to be very quiet. You have to walk in a particular way. You have to carry yourself in a particular way. And I would be like, why? And if they would give me an answer, then it would be, again, why?
I'll come back.
So, they sometimes would get fed up and say, we have no more answers for you. Just put your whys away. So I was challenging mindset from a very early age. And now when I look back, I'm so immensely grateful for the upbringing that I've had, because I didn't know the lingo then. You understand that a little bit of a later stage, probably in your mid-20s, when you're looking for, self-discovery spaces and growth and stuff. And then you understand, okay, this is how my childhood, experience, this connects to this thought, this connects to this mindset, this, limiting belief or empowering belief. So it is, good to reflect and see that from a very young age, my father was the wind beneath my eyes. Sorry, my wind beneath my wings. And, he was the eyes through which I could see the world. Surprisingly, he was not a very educated person in the terms of, current education system. He was very educated through life experiences. And being the eldest son, that gave him a little bit more wider space because, you're looking after the whole family, you're providing for the younger siblings, you're taking care of your family. And plus they had transitioned during the partition. So it was his responsibility to, make sure that everybody got settled. And he gave me a lot of freedom. He gave me a lot of strength to navigate my strong persona without ever raising his hand on me. Discipline, yes, but never raising his hand on me. And my mom, when I look back, she was also very far-sighted. She wanted, at that point of time when she would say, learn how to cook or learn how to do housework, it would be annoying because, why are you not asking anybody else to do it? But now I know that was a path to becoming self-dependent, becoming independent, so you don't have to rely on other people. And luckily, that came in handy when I moved here because back home we have house help. We have people who will help you, run your day-to-day living by either cooking or, looking after the house, cleaning the house. But in this country, we don't get that. No. So for me, that was an eye-opener. But when I came here as a 19-year-old, it was a complete different world. Like, for me, it was a culture shock. Even though I was married into a family, Sikh family, it was a culture shock because of the way thoughts were, used, where there were guidelines what a daughter could do and a daughter-in-law couldn't, how a daughter-in-law needs to navigate and how a daughter has the freedom to choose and do what she wants. And having not experienced that, I found it very difficult to settle. But then they say when you are in that space and you don't have any other way, you then adapt, because that is what life is, adaptation.
Yourself as well, isn't it?
And you shrink in, yeah, exactly. And, that was the first point I remember when I look back. I started shrinking myself to, be respectful towards the elders, be respectful towards other people. And because I was not a graduate or a degree holder, that became a bone of, contention. I would be made fun of. And slowly but surely, what you do without realizing is that you start molding yourself through their world, through their words, through their eyes. And I would join in. When I look back now, it's horrifying that I did that to myself.
Mocking yourself.
I would join in to mock myself and make fun of myself, just so that nobody else could do it to me. And that, when I had to do the reflection, during my training, certain sections, it was painful. It was super painful to come to that realization that, my goodness, that was the turning point of my life. And also because when I came in here, I didn't have any other family. So I'd left all my friends behind. I'd left all my cousins.
And this lovely
lovely warmth, security and secure family. That's all I would say was secure family. I'm sure there are, things which probably took place, because no family can ever be lovey-dovey, right? We all know that the dynamics in, a joint family is a little bit push and pull, so I'm sure there have been spaces, where I've hated it at times, but those are very few.
All in all.
Yeah, it's good memories I have, and that is my safe space even today. That is a haven which I can visit even today. And I am just grateful for my parents, to be honest. We have, that kind of space, and along with them, the rest of the family members.
So as Rupy is sharing how you've transitioned from India to the UK, and you've come from quite two opposites, haven't you? And and some of the cultural experiences that we have, and some of the things that we're said to as women as we get married into our home as well. What I would so you've spoken about the forever promise. What is it? What is that exactly, and how did that show up in your life when you were married?
So the forever promise is that in our culture, once you get married, you stay married no matter what, right? So that is the forever promise I'm talking about. The forever promise of saying that, no matter how love is being given to you, shown to you, just adjust and accept that.
Oh, that's awful, isn't it?
Yeah. And that forever promise is something, unfortunately, a lot of women are, stuck in. Because when we are being brought up, and again, through no fault of our parents, because they didn't know any better, they've taught us certain values. Then we have picked up certain values through our experiences. Then we have understood certain limiting beliefs through the society which we grow in. And along that, we form our own beliefs as and when we have good and bad experiences. So my main limiting belief was that, I am not worth it, that I don't deserve to be happy, that happiness means you have to sacrifice everything for the benefit of others.
It's a sense of duty.
It is the sense of duty. And within that duty, then there are little pockets, which you get stuck in. But main one is, duty to the elders, duty to the people who you live with. One thing I have understood, Iram, is from my own experiences, and I believe this firmly, is that when we are born, we come with our own divine light within. You know, no matter which religion you are born in, whether it's Islam, whether it's Sikhism, whether it's Hinduism, every religion believes that you are born with your inner divine light. And that inner divine light is the permission from the divine for you to go and thrive, for you to live your best life. But unfortunately, because of society, family, career, work, whatever, we form certain beliefs which then start to dim our light a little bit for us. And then we keep doing that. And every time we do that, that becomes more low. But it still is, burning deep within. It's still burning, no matter the trials, no matter the, storms you're weathering, no matter the spaces you're in.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Master's Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH. Ayada Care Limited provide quality and compassionate care at home support services, respecting the cultural, linguistic and religious backgrounds of those we care for. We find out exactly what our clients need, then match our trained Ayada staff to meet their personalised yet affordable care plans, promoting independence and mental health well-being. Call 01733 666 801 to speak with registered manager Iqbal Manji, or visit ayadacare.co.uk for details.
There's simply a variety of choice at Chicken Valley, 318 Lincoln Road. And we don't just mean whether you dine in or order for takeaway or delivery. With halal dishes including peri-peri chicken, wings, strips and wraps, Korean burgers, sides, milkshakes and so much more. You'll have to experience Chicken Valley again and again and again. Open 11 a.m. until late, every day of the week. Order delivery via Just Eat, Uber or Food Hub. Or for collection, call Chicken Valley on 01733 564 053.
बेहतरीन कीमतों में काबिले भरोसा टैक्सी। जी हाँ, अमार कैब से रोजमर्रा का सफर हुआ आसान। सिर्फ £3.99 से शुरू। हीथ्रो एयरपोर्ट के लिए £120, गेटविक £150, बर्मिंघम £92, लंदन स्टैनफोर्ड एंड लंदन लूटन के लिए £88। हम प्राइवेट स्कूल रन्स और एग्जीक्यूटिव बिजनेस क्लास ड्रॉप ऑफ्स भी देते हैं। बुकिंग बहुत आसान। हमारी वेबसाइट www.amarcabs.com पर जाएं, 01733555888 पर कॉल करें या हमारी ऐप डाउनलोड करें। iOS और एंड्रॉइड दोनों पर अवेलेबल है। चंद ही क्लिक्स में आपकी टैक्सी बुक हो जाएगी। आरामदेह और कम कीमत सफर की बेहतरीन चॉइस, अमार कैब्स।
Craving authentic Desi flavors? Look no further than Desi Restaurant. From midday until 1 in the morning, enjoy our homemade specialties that will transport your taste buds. Indulge in tantalizing papri chaat and savor the rich chersi kadahi. Treat your friends to our fresh 1 kilogram chersi lamb handi. Plus, get 2 12-inch pizzas for $11.95. Located at 298 Lincoln Road, we deliver from lunchtime until 1 a.m. Call 01733 555 795 now to order and experience Desi Restaurant's flavors.
For family fun with a difference, visit the Q Club, Cowgate in Peterborough, and enjoy snooker, pool and darts, simulators and more. Plus, the Q Club serves quality food, delicious desserts and refreshing drinks in the heated Smoke and Mirrors garden. Open from 4:30 until midnight each Tuesday to Thursday, and with extended hours Fridays and Saturdays. Follow the Q Club on Instagram and Facebook, or just drop in PE1 1LZ. Call 01733 913 607.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
You are listening to the Winning Women show on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM. We have with us our guest, Rupy Dylan, and we are talking about her transformation her transformation. And if you've been with us in the first half, we talked about how she moved from India to the UK. She came with so much love, and now she's holding on to the idea of everlasting love, but everlasting love should never cost your self-respect. And this is what we're touching on. So Rupy, tell us, how was that for you in the marriages that you were in? How did that come up?
So the first marriage, was mostly physical abuse. Beatings, slaps, anger, and you kind of then learn to completely, zip yourself up. You want to keep the peace, you want to keep the family together, you want to just stay, holding on to that promise which you've given to each other, right? But like you said, self-respect should never be trampled. That is not what love is. So I literally lost my father after my third daughter, born in 1999. And when I came back, certain digs were made. And the one which stood out for me, while we were in the car park of Heathrow, is that, hope you've had a lovely holiday. And that cut me deep. That really cut me deep. And that is, I think, when probably for the first time I might have started thinking about, separation. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know what it would look like, or, where I would settle. But that thought, when I'm tracing it back, that probably was around that time. And then other incidents took place. And it came to a point, where having 3 daughters growing up, and the eldest was, I think, around 8 at that time, 8.5. I didn't want them to grow up thinking that this was normal. This is how marriages are. I wanted them to understand that, there is love, there is companionship, but above all that, there is respect for each other. And then there is trust in a relationship. And that's how marriages are made. That's how marriages run. That's how marriages last. And I literally then just decided that is what I would like to do. I filed for divorce, and I was assaulted badly after that, where I ended up in hospital. And from that point on, I literally just fought for my kids' custody, fought for the criminal case, fought for, just to be able to stand with my head held high. And I remembered my father's wisdom and teachings more then. And I will tell you, Iram, when you have a man who has supported you, who has given you wings to fly, he becomes the barometer, right, where you measure everything in your life too. And whenever I would do something, I would what would Pa say? How would he react? How would he help me? How would he support me? Emotionally, how would he, hold me together? And that became my lifeline. And then I met somebody else, and we married in 2005. We had another child. And for the first time, I can say that, I experienced true love. Me being a mother of 3 kids, which, might sound very odd to your listeners, but just because you have... I've been told that, so that's why I said, it might sound odd to certain listeners that, you're a mother of 3 kids and you're telling me that you have never experienced true love. But yeah, that is possible. We go through life, we live our whole life, and sometimes we don't experience that ounce of true love from the opposite person.
Yeah.
And that is huge.
That's sad, isn't it?
That is sad.
Yeah,
that is
so
sad.
many years can go by. And
So many years can go by. And I understood what being in synergy meant. I understood what companionship meant. I also understood, what having a safe space meant after my father for the first time. But then life has a way of, turning it upside down for you. Because when you choose self-development, when you choose your growth, and when you're not honoring it, sometimes life will show you snippets of it where you're letting yourself down, where you're leaving yourself behind, where you're shrinking yourself, where you're putting yourself in a box. And, you're just shutting that lid tight, putting the lock on it and throwing the key away. I did that. Even in my second marriage, I did that. And more so because, you know what? I'm a divorcee. What would family say? What would my mom have to hear from other family members? And I kept going, and he's a good human being. He's a good human being. And I think that's why I lived in that hope for so long that, he will change. And every human being has this space, right, whether they want to develop themselves, whether they want to do their growth, whether they want to explore other avenues to understand themselves better, and then step on that path. That, every human being has. And if you don't take that, then you get stagnant. And if there was one lesson which my father ever taught me, was never to become stagnant. Keep on moving. Even if it's like half a step, one baby step, keep on moving. Understand. And because he was not educated, he used to seek knowledge in raw form. And I think I caught that bug from him. So I would love to learn, how our minds function. Why is it the way we operate in our life? Why is it that, we have certain beliefs which are so good and they empower us? They give us this warm feeling in our, heart, and it opens our heart up, and we have all this love in there. And then certain beliefs, the minute we think about it, our heart just closes, it shuts. And no matter what you do, then it refuses to open. So I've always been a seeker of knowledge, and I think, when you're on that space, there is only so much stagnation life will let you live in. And that became the case with me then. So coming back to the topic of, abuse doesn't need to be loud. Abuse doesn't need to be violence. Abuse doesn't need to be, in your face. Abuse can be verbal. Abuse can be silent. And abuse can be very emotional. Excuse me. And that is when I understood, that abuse has many different forms, two sides of the same coin. And when you understand that, it then weighs you down even more. And then I started my journey, exploring to expand my world. I found a mentor, stepped on that journey, and then I started questioning certain beliefs which I had. And yet I didn't find a true path which would show me, why am I the way I am? Why do I have certain thoughts which, I will just at the click of a button, I will just let them go. And yet certain things which are damaging me, I hold on to them. And then life takes that decision out of your hand, as it did in my first marriage, so it did in my second marriage. I was in India in 2023. My daughter was getting married, and I saw something similar play out in my family. And it was like a slap on my face. and the instant realization that this is what my life looks like to the people who love me, especially to my daughters. And anything I've done in my life, my daughters have been at the forefront. They are my mirror. They are the ones who can challenge me. They're the ones who can stand up to me and say, Ma, you're going wrong. Especially my, they all do that, but especially my eldest and my youngest. My youngest is a culmination of all eldest three and her own. Sometimes when I look at her, she's 21, but, boy, does she give me some goals to step in. When I look at her, I literally think, how was I not like this? Like 21-year-old, I did not even know who I was. She is very firmly standing in her power. All four of them do now. And it just shows you that, how important it is as a mother to step on your journey. Because when you step on your journey, you're giving, you don't have to vocally verbalize it. You give permission to your kids to step into their essence. So I chose healing so that my daughters don't have to go through this cycle. I chose, empowerment so that my daughters can see. I've made tons of mistakes as a mom. I've made tons of mistakes as, a woman. And I learn from my mistakes. I pick the pearls of wisdom and I move on. I've also stayed in space where, I've let anger and hate simmer in my heart. But then the realization comes from within that, the only person you are doing a disservice to you is yourself. Nobody else is getting, but the anger is not destroying anybody else. It's just destroying your peace of mind, your sanity, your clarity. And then, you step up. And I say this, life will bring you angels in the form of human beings who will hold your hand and step on that journey. And I walked into a room, 3-day event, and that's where I met my mentor. He is an amazing human being, and he held my hand, has held space for me, and has just lifted me up. And I wouldn't have done this journey with anybody else, because the one thing which made me step onto this path of, getting my certification, my practitioner, NLP master practitioner, was because he could hold that space for me. Along with him, I found my soul family. So it's been a win-win.
That's so lovely to hear. And from what you've said, that your children, your children played a huge part in bringing strength, and also there's lessons that you've learned from your father as well. I think also this also shows that you could love somebody, but you could respect yourself enough to decide to walk away.
Love for me now means self-respect. If somebody can't show me respect, that is not love. Love should not be constraining. Love should not be in chains. Love should be, giving you more courage. Love should be giving you the space to bloom and become who you are deep down. That is what love truly is.
And I'd love to talk about the transformation now. So some of the things that we've seen is that you have been invited onto a campaign where you got all glammed up, and you had a fashion show. Tell us a little bit more about that. That looks so exciting.
This was during my, certification journey, and Imran has been a huge help. So just for the record, my mentor is Imran Ahmed.
Fantastic.
He is, as you know, he is a fantastic human being. And, he has shown me that, that light which I spoke about earlier. He just reminded me of that light. That's all he did. he didn't, change me to become the person I am. He just showed me and reminded me who I was. And that's what I do for other people as well. And when this campaign was launched, it was, it came to me because they wanted, Anisha Vasani is the lady who does Fashion Brunch, and they run yearly Fashion Brunch campaigns. And last year they chose domestic awareness, domestic abuse awareness, and along with 8 other women, the 9 of us came together and we shared our story on the International Women's Day. And she raises money towards the charity, and then she brings you in, glams you up, does some glamorous photo shoots. And then you do like little mini ramp walk during the, International Women's Day brunch. And our stories got recorded. They got played to the audience of, I think, 150 women. And I had ladies coming, cheering us on. Ladies coming to me and telling me how useful my story has been, how inspiring my story has been, and how amazing it is to see that, I didn't put brakes on my life.
And how courageous you are, because most women will probably not want to talk about it again.
Imran says this, that between courage and fear, or faith and fear, it's that 30-second leap. That 30-second takes you on the other side. And when you have a community of, solid people supporting you and holding you, like we say, there's this belief that to raise a child, it takes a village. To empower a woman who has lost herself, who has lost her identity, it takes more than a village. And when you find that village and the people who live in that village, you hold on dearly to them. Because, they hold your hand. They see you at your most vulnerable space, and they see you in your most empowered space. And they see the light within you, even before sometimes you can see that light for yourself. So doing that campaign was very empowering, and understanding, how other women navigated their journey as well. And then now, having done my certification, I teach women to come home to themselves. And I hold their hand because I've done the walk myself. I just don't do the talk. I've done the walk and I do the talk now. I've got the tools to empower you. I've got the tools to make you understand why you function in the pattern which you function, why you carry certain limiting beliefs, why you are not able to create solid boundaries. But most importantly, what changed for me was understanding my values. Because, without values, how do you navigate life? You need to believe in something, right? And when you believe in that, then it becomes easier to form goalposts in your journey. And then you work hard to achieve those goalposts. And if you ace them, perfect. If you don't, no love lost. So for me, that became a huge changing pattern. And with the help of, my mentor, with the help of my daughters, my mum, my sister, she's been one of my biggest champions as well. From a very young age, she's younger than me, but she can hold space for me. And she's held space for me. So I'm grateful for the people who have been part of my journey. I've got my best friend. She can show me mirror sometimes in ways that even my daughters can't. Like, she can put me bare in front of myself, and she will question to bring that clarity out. And you need people like that. You need people like that in your life to challenge you, to challenge your growth, to challenge your mindset so that you don't become comfortable. Because, if I've achieved everything, if I've believed that, then, life is just finished for you. Have I achieved everything in my life? No. Have I started to live my life in a more authentic way? Yes. Will I have trials coming in further in my life? Who knows? What I now know, I didn't know back then. As a 54-year-old, I didn't know how to navigate my mindset. I didn't know how to challenge myself. And I've now, stepped into that self-leadership, right? Because that is very important. And when we reach a point where we are unable to move forward, we should always put out that hand and see who holds your hand.
Or to help others. So the women you're helping, Rupy, are they in marriages like this still, or have they left?
So I've got both. Some have come to me, when they are stuck.
Okay.
Some have come to me when they've stepped out of their marriages and they're living with the trauma and don't know how to move forward. And then some are there, because they just want to explore themselves. So yes, I've got the niche in trauma work, supporting women who are going through domestic abuse or who have gone through domestic abuse. But that is not the only work which I do. I can empower you if you're stuck at a point in life and don't know how to move forward and need to find clarity. I can support you without you having experienced abuse. There are traumas which we carry from other experiences, so the trauma work which I do is not just limited to domestic abuse and domestic violence. It is a lot more widespread. So, yeah.
And you bring a lot of experience as well, because given your age as well, you've been through a lot as well, and that's something that a lot of people can value. So the program that you do, is it called the Atam program?
So I've got 2 programs. The first one is called Soul Liberation Journey, which is a 6-week program. And in that program, we look at, how you're functioning, what limiting beliefs you carry. We touch base on the kind of probably inner child. We touch base on the dark phases of our life. We touch base on the resilience which you always carry, even within those dark phases and the storms you're experiencing. You're always resilient. So we look at the strengths you have and we look at what we can improve. I don't say weaknesses, I say improvement, because weaknesses, when you kind of look at the dictionary, it's like such a negative explanation, right? So there's only space to improve. There's only space to pick up wisdom. There's only space to pick up things which will empower you and make you land in your truer version. And then from there on, the second, which is Atam, which essentially means soul, your soul in Sanskrit.
Atam, yeah.
Yes. When I was looking for my program, or, even my brand name, it kept coming back to soul. And I didn't want to do English, word, because I just wanted something very authentic, connecting me to my roots. So Atam sounded better. So Atam is a 6-month journey. This goes deep. We look at mindset, we look at patterns, we look at your limiting beliefs in a deeper space. We create your values a lot more detail. Just give an example, the values workshop can sometimes last 5 to 6 hours. Because, you dig deep and then you pick up the roots, which no longer need to be in your garden, right? And you plant, a beautiful garden for yourself, and then you nurture that garden for yourself. So that is what we do. So it's a more deeper, liberated work.
Well, okay, and Rupy, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more?
So they can connect with me, on my Instagram handle, which is Atam Nirvana.
Okay.
And they can connect me on LinkedIn as well, which is Rupy Dylan. And if they want to connect with me through you, then I'm sure we can arrange something where, if you have listeners who want to touch base with me, I do a 30-minute, absolutely no strings attached, free clarity call. And in that, we just, look at certain things, where you are and whether I can coach you and be that guide for you.
Okay, brilliant. So Rupy, thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom and your mission with us tonight. And to our listeners, remember, transformation is possible at any age, and your voice, your worth and your inner safety are always reclaimable. So we've been very fortunate to have Rupy with us. This has been the Winning Women, celebrating women who are changing the world one story at a time. Thank you, and I will add some links as well so that you can connect with Rupy. Do so that you can learn more about it. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time with our next show. In fact, Rupy's got something to say. Rupy, have you got something to say?
I think just last words,
Yes,
what I would
please.
say is that, we are all grounded in our core truth. And we
Stay
enter this
tuned to
world with
Salaam
only
Radio
our
after this
essence.
short